Hey, Bitcoin Weekly people, how are you doing? It is great to be back. I just got back to Taiwan yesterday from South Africa, and it was very tiring. My voice is still not quite there after being exposed to 20 hours of air conditioning, which is not great when you have allergies and asthma. But anyway, lots of stories to get into. Bitcoin at $58,000 as of the time of recording this video, which is fantastic. It broke $57,000 yesterday, I believe, now at $58,000. We also have a story about Bitcoin's illegal battle in terms of miners not wanting to disclose their energies. My opinion on that is a bit mixed. That Bitcoin NFTs are back, surging above $100 million. I also know that, as I've been arguing this podcast before, people have been saying crypto needs to build applications for real-world use cases, as from an article on CoinDesk. But anyway, let's get started. Lots of stories to go into. As always, let's talk about Bitcoin's price, checking out the CoinGecko price chart. So as we can see today, Bitcoin currently at $58,337.12 had a fantastic run so far. As to the reasons why, again, I am super out of the news this week. So I would assume it's just great macro news. Again, it goes back to the idea of, I saw something today on social media that the Bitcoin ETFs bought 9,000 Bitcoins in the last week, but the miners only produced 900, which goes down to the whole idea of basic supply and demand economics. People are buying more than the miners can produce, so the ETFs have to buy it from somewhere. So they're buying it from people who are currently selling their Bitcoin, thereby driving up the price rate. And this is a narrative you're going to see on social media pretty much everywhere. So with that being said, let's move on to today's first story. So it says Bitcoin surged above $57,000 Tuesday, putting it within striking distance of its all-time high as enthusiasm for the world's largest cryptocurrency reached a level last seen during the 2021 boom. The price of the digital asset is now up as much as 10% on the week and 35% so far this year. So that's great. So if you bought Bitcoin at the beginning of 2024, you're looking pretty happy. By topping $57,000, Bitcoin touched its highest point since November 2021. That's 3 years ago, which is saying a lot. The current rally is testing whether the price can be pushed closer to its all-time high of $68,789. That apex came 6 months before a spectacular crash in 2022. We'll know about the crash. And I did see an article today, and a few people have suggested this. The analysts have said that basically the Bitcoin halving in April, Ethereum's Dencun upgrade, the price at the moment is already pricing in those, the halving and the Dencun upgrade, which is an interesting take because some people are also saying this isn't pricing in, and then we could see 100K Bitcoin or 200K Bitcoin or $6,000 Ethereum at some point. So who knows what's going to happen? There's analysts saying this way or the other. So let me know what you think. Do you think the halving is priced in for Bitcoin? Do you think the Dencun upgrade is priced in? My personal opinion is I think we have a larger macroeconomic climate to consider. And I've said this multiple times, I'm not going to go into it too much, but the war in Ukraine, the Middle East, after traveling to South Africa, definitely seeing inflation and other economic issues there. They have a huge power problem, of course, which I got to experience for the first time. Places that are dealing with power issues, especially in the hot summer months, that's going to be a problem. If you don't have a good energy mix, or you're relying chiefly on coal power, and we don't have enough nuclear power, renewable energy power, like Taiwan moved to 50% renewables, which is, of course, not fantastic when some countries are 100% renewable. So we'll have to see what happens. I think the macro stuff is going to impact Bitcoin as much as some people say that macro doesn't correlate with Bitcoin too much. Am I wrong? Let me know. All right, let's move on to today's second story. So today's second story has to be a MicroStrategy. With Bitcoin sitting at $58,000, their Bitcoin was worth something over $11 billion. So it's definitely over $11 billion now, with Bitcoin being at 58,000. Again, great for Michael Saylor, great for MicroStrategy. The company shares surged 16% on Monday. And people have said, MicroStrategy say they're now changed from being a software company, which is what I believe they were originally, right, to a Bitcoin software or Bitcoin company. And great for MicroStrategy, right? People were laughing at Michael Saylor. People were laughing at MicroStrategy, taking out loans, selling shares to buy Bitcoin, and now they're up. And Michael Saylor has said repeatedly on social media, he's going to keep Bitcoin, he's going to keep Bitcoin, he's really going to sell when it's at the all-time high, and he's an evangelist for Bitcoin. So the guy has proved pretty much everybody wrong. Great for him. And what do you guys think? Are you a fan of Michael Saylor? Do you think he's right? Was he wrong? I'm not sure myself, but I'm happy that things are weird the way they are. I'm happy that MicroStrategy is doing well because it's one of those things, people making the bets on MicroStrategy or MicroStrategy making its own bet, and people laughing at it. And then when they're right, they're like, yes. But if they were wrong, oh God, you never hear the end of it. It goes back to the old saying. It goes, one good customer will tell one person, but 9 bad customers will tell 90 people in terms of when things go wrong. I think that holds true for a lot of different sectors and a lot of different kinds of things that happen in life. All right, let's move on to today's story. And we are speeding along, which is always wonderful. Today's next story, of course, is Bitcoin miners win legal battle to keep mum about energy usage. So mum does not mean your mother. So those whose language is not English just means they get to keep quiet, right? They don't have to explain how much energy they're using. They don't have to explain where it's coming from. So you would have seen this story. We talked about it on the episode on the podcast probably a few weeks ago, where the Department of Energy, which is like the governmental energy organization in the US, was asking Bitcoin miners, right? Because where are you getting your energy from? What's the energy mix? Is it renewable? Is it coal-fired? What's happening? And of course, some energy miners were like, okay, sure, here we go. We were using 60% renewables and 40% fossil fuels. As you can guess by the image, this is coming from The Verge, that they're like maybe 100% renewables and they don't want to talk about it. And this also goes into the fact that the US is the largest Bitcoin mining destination in the world, like official anyway. There might be other destinations where it's unofficially being mined in places where energy is really cheap or they have cheap hydropower. China is one of those places. South America, Iceland, there are a bunch of places where energy is really cheap and people illegally mine Bitcoin or legally tap into the energy grid to mine Bitcoin, which is never great. I'm not a big fan of this idea of blocking this. This really ruins crypto's reputation and continues to foster the idea that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment, and some part of it is, right? Anything that uses fossil fuels, cars, your household electricity in some countries is bad for the environment because fossil fuels are bad for the environment. We all know this. Taiwan has a ton of motorcycles which are bad for the environment. So I think they shouldn't have fought this. I think it's bad. I hope somehow the DOE will win. I hope we will be able to know exactly how Bitcoin miners in the US are getting their energy or where they're getting the energy from. It would be terrible for this to be hidden. We'll see lots of publications and media continue to hit out at Bitcoin mining because of this story. But yeah, that's it. Let's move on to today's next story. All right, today's next story is just from CoinDesk, right? Again, I'm not showing the top image just because it's the way the stories are formatted. When I started building blockchain products, I frequently said blockchain is a database. It doesn't save the world. Technology on its own rarely does. Every technology value hinges on the functionality and utility it brings to everyday people in their environments. So it says Tori Samples, the senior product manager at the Stellar Development Foundation. We all know Stellar, right? Stellar has made big inroads in South America in terms of transferring money. So that's been the big thing with Bitcoin, with blockchain. I'm working on a graphic at the moment, a data visualization showing the transactions on networks. And you'd be surprised, like some networks like Ethereum, we're like, oh my God, Ethereum is awesome. But the number of transactions on a given day or a given month is actually pretty small in some of the networks we love and we treasure. And it shows that blockchain, it's come up a lot in terms of price, but the technology hasn't come far enough in terms of utility to everybody. Even going back to South Africa, I can definitely see, especially South Africa has huge power problems, right? And when there's no power, you still have internet in some places, especially where you have battery storage and things. But again, you can't go to the ATM to withdraw money because the ATM doesn't have electricity, and so you can't withdraw money. That's where crypto could be a great use case as a form of payment, right? We know Bitcoin works pretty well in El Salvador, maybe not fantastically. So the use cases do exist, and I think forcing it on people is not a great idea. El Salvador is a great prototype, but it shows that it doesn't work for everybody. I think cell phone usage is a wonderful case. I think crypto usage is going to come through cell phones because everybody has a cell phone. I always tell people the stories here in Taiwan is like, even if you're a poor person or they're poor, like a lower income person, and your job is to build construction or to throw away the trash, and you're making just above minimum wage here in Taiwan, you'll have a nice cell phone, or you'll have a cell phone, and everybody has cell phones, multiple cell phones, like people who play Pokemon Go. I think that's where crypto adoption is going to happen. That's what the apps need to be built for. The Solana phone is a great example of this because, yeah, it's where people are like, if you can build apps for the Solana phone and they have lots of people using the Solana phone, or that could be a way to get more people to adopt crypto. Or having an OS like Solana or built on top of Android where you can use crypto-centric apps, or crypto-centric apps being deployed to the Android App Store, which is, Android is the largest app store in the world, right? With Samsung being the largest cell phone maker of the world. And Apple being in the top 4. Of course, the Xiaomi cell phones and the Huawei cell phones are also in the top 5 as well. So this is a great story, something I've talked about a lot. Let me know, what do you think is going to be the best use case for crypto going forward? All right, moving on to today's last story. All right, today's last story. Bitcoin NFTs and Magic Eden have seen their best month yet for fees and trading volume amid sustained interest in the leading cryptocurrency from the industry participants in Wall Street, right? We all know Magic Eden. Magic Eden was my favorite NFT marketplace when Solana was at its all-time high. I used to go there to buy NFTs, so they support Bitcoin NFTs, which is something I did not know, but Magic Eden has a fantastic interface, really simple, really easy to see. It says $2 million in fees paid for buying and selling Bitcoin NFTs in Magic Eden. Also set a record high on the platform. There were more than 45,000 buyers on the marketplace and over 91,000 sellers, but sales did not exceed figures set in December of last year. So we know Bitcoin NFTs or Ordinals or inscriptions or whatever you want to call them are doing really, really well. They're really helping miners earn fees on the Bitcoin network or people who are processing transactions, which is great. That gives more incentives for people to invest in mining and mining equipment. But at the same time, NFTs still haven't come back. We still haven't seen the craziness I remember when I was checking NFT prices and thinking about buying this or selling that. And then there's also the side story of some people in the Bitcoin community wanting to get rid of Ordinals because they think this is not what Bitcoin was made for. Who knows what's going to happen? I definitely don't. I think NFTs are going to stay. The idea has been thrown around that Bitcoin might fork to have a Bitcoin NFT network and just a normal Bitcoin network. Of course, we have Bitcoin Cash. We have Bitcoin SV as well. There are different forks of Bitcoin that do exist. How that will impact the price of Bitcoin or what's happening with ETFs and stuff is going to be another story. That's it for today. As always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Lots of stories covered. I was a little bit fast in the end and a bit more longer towards the end of today. Another Bitcoin Weekly next week. I'm still looking for a March guest. If you know anyone I should talk to, I should find a Bitcoin guest actually, because I have not spoken to one in a while, or an NFT guest. Would love to talk to someone from Magic Eden now that I think about it. We'll see how that goes. I really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast, tuning in. As always, your passion is much appreciated. And stay tuned for more videos. Check out the shorts on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. And then I will see you guys same time next week for more videos, more stories, and more news. Bye, guys.